everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kim. If you are new, thank you for stopping by. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for supporting my channel and coming back each week to see what I upload each week. I know it's been a little bit of time since I've uploaded last. It's just, like I said, been a crazy year. Today's video, as the thumbnail and the description talks about, are all the books that I read during my spring break. So this went from about April the 2nd through all the way through April the 11th, which is the Sunday evening before I went back to work that next Monday. So I read quite a few. Some were rollovers from the previous month that happened to be finished up in April, so I still count it. So the very first one that I finished was The Darkest Whisper, and again I'll put up a picture of it. I don't have a physical copy of it. It was an audiobook that I listen going to and from work and when I run errands and those types of things. It is the 5th book, I believe, in the Lords of the Underworld series by Gina Showalter, and I believe I gave it a 5-star. I'll double check. Yes, I did give it a 5-star. This was Sabin and Gwen's story. Gwen is a harpy, and she was called Gwendolyn the Timid because she is not as bloodthirsty as her relatives, and she's kind of shunned for that because they uphold, you know, the values of strength and bravery and courage and all of these types of things, and she's not quite on that level. And then Sabin, he is the keeper of doubt. That is the demon that he is possessed, or possesses the demon of doubt. And he's having to overcome that. He's afraid to get into relationships because all of his past relationships have ended with them having doubting themselves. They, you know, basically his demon broke down all of these really strong women. Some of them ended up committing suicide and other things of that nature. Because of his demon who made them doubt themselves. So it was a great story of trying to figure out her accepting who she is and her darker half, which is the harpy, and then seeing them come together because he is so resistant based off his past to go into any type of relationship. So yeah, it was an amazing story. I did thoroughly enjoy it. I think I had only read it previously maybe one time, so it was like almost reading it for the first time because I only had, you'll hear Jester walking around on the potty pads that are in my office, so he's pacing as he normally does. But anyways, so a lot of these books I either have not read, especially the further books, or some of these, like this one, I've only maybe read once years ago. So it's just like reading them for the first time again. Alright, so that was book 1 that I finished. The next one is Haunted Devil's Door. This is by Lee Monford. Again, I'll put it up on the screen. This was an ebook that I read. It was from my Kindle Unlimited. It is a horror genre. I didn't agree, and I believe I gave it a 4-star rating. No, I ended up giving it a 5. That's why I like to double check. So it's been a while since I have seen some of these books. It is a 5-star. I really did enjoy the book, but I still disagree in the order that he wrote the series in, because the second book actually is more or less the beginning of the story of how everything happened. It was very odd. The order just confuses me a little bit. I think, in my personal opinion, I think it should have been Haunted the Devil's Door, which is how the whole thing came about, and then going into Haunted Perrin Manor, because it's about her parents from the first book. That is technically the first book of Perrin Manor. Chloe's parents, who are the main focus in the Devil's Door book. It's very bizarre why he chose to write him in that order. I'm not sure how that came about, but it was still a great beginning, or sequel, I guess. It's just bizarre. Oops, sorry about that. And I think he just rammed into the tripod as well. Again, turned the manor into a successful hotel. It has a lot of creep factors into it. The owner is not upfront with them about the history of the house. They have a little girl. Her name is Chloe. I believe she's around 6 or so years old. And she, of course, lives there with them. They all live at the hotel. things start happening, and all, it goes downhill. It's very, very creepy. A lot of other creepy things were added into it, so I did appreciate that about it. But a lot of the other events that took place in the first year I knew were going to happen, and of course they appeared in this book as well, but the reader kind of knew that was going to happen. Some of the ghosts and apparitions and things you were expecting to show up because you'd already been introduced to them in the first book. But yeah, it was a great read. It was very creepy, a lot of sinister things towards the end. Yeah, but I would recommend the series. I know it's at least 3 books. There may be more that come after that. Considering other haunted places outside of. So there are other books that come after Perrin Manor, other haunted, considered haunted or possessed places. And now Nyx is going to town on a box over here. Yeah, this is, it's going to be a great video. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. It was a good series for that. And then the last book in the trilogy that I read before it branches off, this is haunted. This is Purgatory. So again, the very first book, it was Chloe and her sister. I think her name is Sarah, I believe, had inherited the manor. And then in the third book, at the very end, something happens to Chloe, and it continues on in Purgatory of her sister trying to save Chloe from what's going on in the manor. And a lot, again, more creepy things happen. They bring in a paranormal team to try to get her sister back and all sorts of things of that nature. Get the house to release her. So yeah, I believe I also gave it a 5-star, but we'll double check. Yes, a 5-star. Again, even more creepy things happen. You're taking off from the first book, continuation with Sarah's and Chloe's journey from there. A lot of, again, really bad things happen in the book, but it's done in a very, I would say, a tasteful manner. It's not just gore for gore's sake. There is a reason and a purpose behind it. Again, it gets into their minds, and it's like a devolution from there, and then things ramp up into the physical. So it's very insidious of how everything goes on. So again, I would highly recommend, again, the Lee Montfort, if you're into horror, scary books, hauntings, or haunted houses and that sort of thing. I think it has a good basis. Again, my only biggest gripe about it is just the order that he released the books in. But outside of that, they're still great reads. I would recommend it. If you have access to Kindle Unlimited, they are there as well. That's where I read all 3 of them from. It's through that service. So again, I am trying to get through all the ones that I have to put pictures up on the board, up on the screen, not the board, up on the screen, and then I'll get into the physical books after I finish with these. So I think the last e-copy book that I have is Take Me Home. This is a Last Frontier Lodge book. It is, I would say, kind of a military romance. I did really enjoy it. Again, we'll start off with the rating. That's the wrong book. Yes. Alright, yeah, so I did give it a 5-star rating. This is Gage and Mallory's story. Gage is out of the military, so he's a vet, and yes, he is an ex-Navy SEAL. He has come to Diamond Creek. I'm trying to read some of the synopsis because, again, it's been a while. Okay, yeah. So yes, I had just read not too long ago another military romance the previous month, so I'm trying not to get the two confused. Yes. Okay, so get my thoughts in order. So this, again, is Gage and Mallory's story. He is a retired Navy SEAL. He is dealing with some issues. His best friend, I believe, was killed while they were in service, so he is finally out of it. He inherited his grandmother's ski lodge, and he has a year to get it up and running. And Mallory, she is from Diamond Creek. She was born and raised there. She had moved away. She's wanted to get into the IT field and be a programmer and break into that field. So she had moved away. I believe Seattle, I think, might be where she had moved to. to do her schooling and get into that field, which is male dominated. Some things going on. She is learning that it is a very masculine and kind of a boys club, and more or less is kind of how it's portrayed. And being she's a female, they didn't really take her as seriously as she should have been. And then a very tragic event happened to her in her apartment, which led her to go back home to try to find a sense of safety again after that traumatic event occurred. And then it is them, you know, working together, him using kind of her services to help on the IT parts of things to get the lodge up and running. And it was a very heartwarming, very sweet romance, something I just really needed at the time because I've been heavy into horror books, heavy into YA fantasy and epic fantasy in the adult fantasy world as well. So I just kind of needed something kind of more lighthearted, and that kind of fit the bill. It was so sweet, so heartwarming, and all of that. So I would recommend it, and I would definitely consider reading more from it because he does have other siblings, and I think it takes it on from there. So it's very cute, very sweet. If you're into a heartwarming romance story, I would definitely recommend that. And it's the first book by J.H. Crow, I think is how it's C-R-O-I-X, Crow, book that I've read. And I think it's in Alaska is the base, the setting for Diamond Creek. I believe that's where it is. So that was a very awesome book. Again, it just needed a refresh. Since romance is where I started my reading journey through, it was good to revisit that genre as well. Alright, now for some of the physical books that I did read. And then I'll recap because I've already lost the count of how many books I've read so far. During my spring break, I went through a lot of books because I actually had time to read. Alright, so this is the first book in this series. This is The Becoming by, I guess it's Jean C. Stein. This is an urban fantasy. This follows, what is her name? Anna Strong. Follows her journey. She was attacked. She is a bounty hunter, and her partner was attacked one night and by a vampire who meant to kill her but ended up converting her instead. And it's following her journey to basically accepting her new lot in life, as well as figuring out how to capture her assailant and what all the mystery is behind it, because people start coming up missing. Some things happen to her personally, to her possessions, and she's trying to figure out who and why all of this was taking place. So again, it was a great introduction to Jean's writing. Again, it's the first time I've read her books, and again, I'm getting into urban fantasy. So it does have a little bit of a romance angle to it, but it's more on the fantasy elements put into it, more focused on that. So I am really enjoying my exploration of the urban fantasy, and I believe I've already ordered the second book of this series because I am making progress on my TBR shelf. So I am allowing myself to bring in a few more books, and I will do a haul later once I've accumulated enough to make it worth doing a video on the books that I've hauled. Alright, so again, that was a 5-star. I believe my next one, yes, is a 3-star rating. I had so high hopes for this book. This is The Last Rituals by Yrsa Sigurdardóttir. Again, she is a Swedish writer from Iceland. I read her first book. It had a lot of the paranormal aspects to it. A lot of creepy things happen. So I was really excited to get to this book. The kind of prologue, introduction, made it seem like it was going to have a heavy influence to kind of the occult and magic and those type of paranormal elements. And then it turned into a mystery, which I'm not a huge just straight up mystery fan. And that's kind of where this led to. It didn't have as many creepy factors. There were a lot of kind of the occult things in it, which I really enjoyed learning about that through this. And then like this group would look like they were performing a ritual, but then nothing ever really happened. So I'm thinking to myself, why did the author include it? Because it really didn't do anything. When they spent quite a lot of time, you know, prepping and doing all of this stuff, you know, it was a very elaborate scene going on, but there was no payoff in it. So I was kind of disappointed, and especially at the end when I finally figured out the big reveal as to why the foreign exchange student had been killed. The reason behind all of that, it was a big letdown. So I was kind of sad about that because I went in very high hopes for this book and was kind of disappointed. So yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. And again, if there's any of these books that you want a more thorough, in-depth reviews on, I can do a dedicated reviews on. Just leave me comments down below which ones you want me to do a dedicated review on, and I will gladly do that. Let's see. This next one, this is a bound copy of, I think there are 5 books total in this bound copy. Woo! This is the series The Elementals by Michelle Maddow, and I'll put a picture up on the screen of the actual book that I read from this. It's this very first one right here. I don't know how clear that will come up on the screen, but it was called The Prophecy. So it is the introduction to this series. If you like YA, and I would definitely YA because they are high schoolers, so I can definitely consider it a YA book, and it's YA mythology, which I love mythology, so it was a great story to pick up, easy read. I would consider them more novellas because they're only about 145, 150 pages. They're not very long, so they're very easy to read. I really did enjoy it. Learning her experience. What is her name? I am doing a very poor job, you guys, of being able to tell you the names of these characters. Nicole. So Nicole, her family moves to this town, and where is it? It's up north. They moved from Georgia. I do remember that. And it's not New England. Can't remember, but it's up towards a northern town, up north, and she enters school and she goes into this homeroom, and surprise, they're talking about Greek mythology and all of these things, and you think of them as more of witches, or they consider themselves more witches having powers and that sort of thing, and she's like, whoa. So this was her introduction to discover that she is actually one of them, and then going through watching her experience of learning, and she is apparently super powerful, and learning how to control everything, because they're all in kind of awe of that she's picking up all of this stuff so fast when she had no clue. Again, that she was picking up everything so fast, so quickly. Again, since she was brand new to it, she had no clue about it at all. Again, I kind of gave it more of a 3-star rating. Again, it's not, I didn't realize how young it was going to be in the YA realm until I picked it up and started reading. So some of it is a little angsty, and that's not the usual type of YA that I enjoy. It's a decent read, a good read, and again, I enjoyed the mythology elements to it. It felt rushed in a lot of areas. I think that was one of the reasons I docked it so low, and it ended almost abruptly. Some things I think could have been fleshed out more and given it more depth. Again, there's kind of rivalry between Nicole and another lady who is dating another character, Blake, and they're kind of a love interest, almost a love triangle, but not totally there. Because Nicole's like, no, you're with this other girl, and this can't happen until you break things off, and so forth. So a lot of angsty, a lot of teenage drama. Again, not what I was expecting when I did go into it, but overall, I would recommend it if you're into YA and you like mythology. I still think it's worth the read, and I do want to finish the rest of the series as well. So, yes. So again, this is my bound copy of all 5 books. So yeah. But again, I'll have the other picture up on the screen so you can actually know what the look of the individual is. Alright, so my last book that I read for spring break. This is Ararat by Christopher Golden. I loved this book. It it's hard to kind of put down. It starts off with a bang and a lot of creepy things happen. It starts off very insidious as they are on this rush to be the first one to claim what they think is the Ark. And so that the two people and the locals managed to get there before another group did, so they took control of the site. And as they are processing everything, taking their samples and all of that, some really bad things start happening. People are starting dying. Again, it starts off very insidiously, messing with their minds first, and then people start getting killed off. And the rate of the violence picks up as the story gets closer and closer to its conclusion. I loved it. It was very gruesome. There are some scenes that are very, very cringeworthy. But again, it's done in a way that is purposeful and not just for the ooh factor. So yeah, I really did enjoy it. I do want to continue it because this is the Ben Walker series, I believe, and it follows him on these different missions that he goes through as part of trying to determine, is there demonic things going on? Is it something the U.S. can use or keep from other countries to use against us? That sort of thing. And he actually experienced a very first real entity going on in here. So highly recommend if you're into the horror genre, demons, possession, that type of thing, then this would be a great read for you. I would definitely recommend it if you're into that. Okay, so I'll give you a recap of how many books I actually did manage to either listen to with my one audio and then the others. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 8 books total that I read through that 1 week in April. I still got quite a bit of time left to finish out a few more books before the end of April, but yeah. That was my spring break wrap up. Again, let me know down below which of these, if any of them, that you want me to do a more in-depth spoiler type of review on. I will gladly do that. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and until my next video, I hope you have a great one. Bye guys!